Hello everyone, welcome to Life in All Its Beauty. Today I've got a 22-pin knitting machine tutorial on how to make a little hair bow. I've got different colors here and different size as well. So let's get into the video.
Alright, so in order to make the bow, we're going to need the 40-pin Sentro knitting machine, some scissors, a crochet hook, a sewing needle to clean up your ends, a little clamp, I think it's called an alligator clamp for the hair bow, and obviously, of course, the yarn. I'm using loops and threads, soft and shiny, in the color Rosy Mauve. I find that this yarn works really well in my machine. Test it out in your machine. Each machine is different. Alright, so to start off, we are going to cast on. If this is the first time using your machine, what you're going to do is you're going to go in and out around each peg. So you can see I have the yarn in front of the black peg, and now I'm going in front of and behind of each alternating pin. I'm going to do this all the way around. And now I'm at the end. So now I'm going to put my yarn into the yarn feeder, and I'm going to put it into the tension ring down at the bottom there. And now I can start cranking like usual. You're going to then knit 40 rows. You can change it depending on how big you want the bow, but for this tutorial I'm doing 40 rows. And at the end you're just going to simply cast off. The first step to casting off is to cut yourself a tail. You're going to want to have something that's a little bit longer so that we can go all the way around the tube and then have enough to wrap around the bow for that center decorative area. So you can see here I've got a decent amount of yarn, and then I'm going to very carefully crank around almost the whole way. You remember to watch that black pin so that you can kind of see how far I'm going. You're going to need to take the yarn out of the tension ring and the yarn feeder and put it into the center, as you've seen I've done here. And like I said, carefully crank around. You can see my machine gets stuck in that one specific spot. That's to my machine only. But then when you're almost all the way around, then you're going to thread your yarn onto your needle, and we are going to start picking up those stitches so that they don't fall down and completely destroy all of the work that we just did. So to pick up those drop stitches, what you're going to do is you're going to take your needle, and you'll notice on the machine that for each hook there are 2 pegs sticking up. You're going to put your needle in between those 2 pegs and pull the yarn off of the 2 pegs, because you can see it's wrapped around. And as you do the first few, you'll have to do them individually, but once you get past that, then you can just start putting a bunch of them onto your needle. You don't have to pull them through individually each time. When you've gotten to the part where you can't really keep going because the hooks are holding the yarn down still, then you're going to, again, carefully crank past that till you've got all of your yarn free. If you do this too early, it starts to pull your stitches off of the machine, and we don't want that to happen. Sometimes the yarn will get caught underneath the hooks, as you've seen these last 2 stitches here. It usually only happens to the last stitches, at least in my experience, so then you'll just make sure that you can crank it back so that you can pull them off and pull the whole thing free from the Sentro knitting machine. Once you've gotten all your stitches picked up, then we're going to be able to pull the yarn tight and cinch up both ends. So you'll see here I pick up that last stitch because remember when I took it off the last hook I didn't pick it up. So I pick up the last stitch, and then I'm going to pull everything nice and tight, and then I'll give the tube a few tugs just to even out the stitching and make the tube look a little bit smoother. Once you've gotten the tube nice and stretched out, then you're going to make sure that your stitch line is straight so that your tube isn't twisted at all. So you can see here, I just make sure it's nice and even, and then I'm going to bring the two ends together and tie them together so that it won't come apart. Once I'm done with that, then I'm going to thread one of the tails onto my needle and I'm going to sew the ends together. Once we've got that all sewn up, tied off, and neat, then we're going to flip this over and we're going to find the halfway point. That it doesn't need to be exact, but it's definitely better if it is very close to halfway. Then you're going to very loosely sew it down the side. This is going to help cinch up the back side because now we've got the front side all nice and cinched up. So you're just going to pass it through, pull it tight, and then we'll start wrapping the yarn around the center. I find that it's easier if I tie it off before I start wrapping the yarn. It just kind of keeps it a little bit more secure. When you're wrapping the yarn around the bow, and this is to make that decorative center, you can either do both strands at a time or you can do one at a time. I've done both. I think it works out either way. Here I did both. Once you're done, then you're going to tie it off. And the way I do this is I'll rethread each end individually onto my needle. And I'm going to stick it under just one of the wraparounds, preferably one that's a little bit underneath because we're going to end up tucking it out of sight so that the knot is hidden. So you just push the needle through, you'll do your tie off knot, and then I like to take my needle and thread it into the tube so that the back side, I guess, because you have the front side of your tube and then the back side as it's making that bow. So you're just going to go on the inside of the tube on whatever side you're on and pull it up straight through out of sight, and then I trim the end off there. Nothing fancy. once you've got those ends clipped off and everything put neatly out of sight, I give it a stretch, pulls it right in, and I've never had any issues with it coming apart. Your bow is done. So now this is the part where I plugged in my hot glue gun and got ready to hot glue the alligator clip onto the bow. Or if you just want to use the bow, sew it on as an accessory to something, a hat or whatever, you can go ahead and do that too. And there you have it. The bow clip is all done. See, super easy to do. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments and I will try to answer them as best as I can. This tube was 40 rows, like I said, but here's another one that I made that has 20 rows. It's super tiny and cute and I love it. So I hope this tutorial was helpful for you and you have fun making some cute little bows. Have a wonderful day.